I think we're going to get started here. Again, welcome to our virtual open house. My name is TJ Kidder. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Learn Academy. Couple things, just real quick. We are recording this presentation, so for those who are a little late, maybe you want to refresh your memory after this, we're going to record it, send it out as a follow-up. But let's go ahead and get started. So just as we dive into our schedule here, this is what we're going to be covering for tonight. So we're first going to talk just a little bit about our Zoom room, how we run things in here, what the etiquette looks like. We're then going to dive into what we call check-in. Check-in we do every single day in our classroom. It's how we kick off the day, and it's how we kick off all of our events. It's a great way to break the ice. It's also going to be a great way to get to know our team members, learn a little bit more about us. And then we're going to dive right into our program. So all of you are here to learn a little bit more about how Learn works, what our program is like. So we're going to talk about what our admissions process looks like, our onboarding requirements. We're going to have all of our team members here, our instructors, and our Director of Academic Experience, Sarah, is here to talk about our classroom. We have our Internship Manager to talk about our internship program. And Paul, our Career Services Coordinator, is going to talk about what our career services look like. And during all of that time, if you have any questions, please go ahead and answer it in the chat. We have all of our team members here to answer your questions along the way. But at the very end, we're going to have some time for an open Q&A, so you can unmute yourself. You can talk a little bit more, and also just get any of those last minute questions answered. Cool. So just to talk a little bit about our Zoom room. So our Zoom room is like our classroom. It's a brave space, but it's also a public space. So we're here and we ask all of you, in the spirit of promoting a spirit of inclusivity, we make sure that all of us are welcoming, friendly, and patient. We also ask everyone to be respectful to each other. We also ask you to participate and engage throughout the presentation. So this presentation looks and feels a lot like how our classroom operates. So please, we want you to be present, unmute yourself, turn on your camera, keep yourself muted during the presentation, but we want you fully engaged. We want to see your beautiful faces because this is the first time we're going to see all of you, and hopefully we get to see you in our classroom as well. And also, like I mentioned, we're going to have time for Q&A. We have all the team members here answering the questions in the chat, so don't be afraid as we're going through this presentation. Drop a question as it comes up. Cool. Now we're going to dive into check-in. So we do this every day in the classroom. It's just a great way to break the ice. And we're going to use this as a way to learn a little bit more about our team members. But then we're also going to give the opportunity to unmute yourself. And we're going to popcorn a few people just to learn a little bit more about you. So I'll get us started here, and then we're going to pass it off to our team members across the team. So my name is TJ Kidder. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Learn, and I live in San Diego. One of the great things about our company is, one, we are headquartered in San Diego. We have a lot of team members in San Diego, but we are a nationwide company. And a lot of you are probably coming from coast to coast, and I think that's so cool. And I think that's one of the awesome things about what our recent growth at Learn is, to see how many new people have been coming into our community. But I live here in San Diego, and the most exciting place I travel to or would like to travel to, well, number one on my bucket list is definitely going to South America, like Belize or Guatemala, and to see the Mayan temples. That is like one of my dream places to go. I'm going to pass it off to, so real quick, everyone, if you could start answering those questions inside the chat, that would be great. We want to see your answers, but to get us started, I'm actually going to pass it off to some of our team members. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Sarah.
Hello, everybody. My name's Sarah. I also live in San Diego. And conveniently, I just got back from Belize. So TJ, I got to go to the Mayan temples, and it was so amazing. And it was so much fun. I definitely recommend for a nice Caribbean vacation, check out Belize. I'll pass it to Kumba.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Kumba. I'm one of the enrollment managers here at Learn. I live here in San Diego. Where would I like to travel to? Oh my gosh, so I've somewhere new. Probably Ibiza or somewhere in Greece would be where I would like to travel to next. I'm going to pass it off to Chantel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chantel. I'm the Internship Program Manager here at Learn. I also live in San Diego. I promise not all of us do. The most exciting place I've ever traveled to, I loved Thailand so much. Thailand was amazing. And I would one day really love to visit Japan. Is probably pretty high on my list, but there's a lot of places on the list. So if I had to pick one, that's what comes to mind right now. And I will pass it over to Marquista.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marquista. I'm from Miami, Florida. And high on the list for travel would be Australia. And I will pass it over to Vanessa.
Hey everyone, I'm Vanessa Nuno. I am the operations manager for Learn. I live in San Diego. I've lived in a few different places though, but I've been back in San Diego for about 3 years. I grew up here, so San Diego is definitely my hometown. I really love traveling to Mexico. One of my favorite cities in Mexico is Guanajuato, which is like a really old, beautiful city. One of my favorite places to go. So with that, I'll pass it over to Paul.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Hutchinson. I'm part of the career services team here at Learn. I'm also based in San Diego, but originally from the north of England, Manchester, in the north of England. I've been out here for about 13 years. The places that I've really enjoyed traveling is Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand is just a ridiculous place, and it's also got Hobbiton there, which I also enjoyed. So I think Vanessa B hasn't gone yet.
Thank you. Hello, I am Vanessa Bastian. I'm the other Vanessa on the team. I'm a community engagement specialist, so I do a little bit of marketing. I have a bit of a technical background. I did complete the boot camp myself. So if anybody has questions, I'm always happy to share my experience. I also live in San Diego. I grew up here and have never really left. My favorite place that I've ever traveled to is actually the same as Paul. I traveled to Australia and New Zealand was mind-blowing. We rented a camper van, we drove around for 2 weeks. It was not enough time. Would love to go back.
Wonderful. Well, it was so great to hear from some of our team members. Now we're going to popcorn some people here. So I was hoping some of all of you would share your answers in the chat, but now we're going to put a few of them on the spot. So I'm actually going to popcorn it off to Yaha. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I really am. But please go ahead, and I'd love to hear from you. And then you actually get the power, and you get a popcorn anybody you want. And we'll do this for a few people.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Yaya. I am based here in San Diego. I actually live here in San Diego as well. The most exciting place I've traveled to is Italy. I've been to 8 cities in Italy this past summer, so that was really exciting. And the next place I would love to travel to is Japan. And I'll popcorn it off to, let's see, Jordan.
Hello, my name is Jordan, and I live in Michigan, and I have not traveled anywhere outside of the United States, but I would love to visit Japan one day, and I will pass it off to give me a second here, Alexander.
Hey, my name is Alexander. I'm in Portland, Oregon now. I'm from Mississippi originally. The most exciting place I have visited is Costa Rica, and I would like to visit Slovakia. I'm learning Slovak at the moment, so I will pop it off to Louise.
Hi, my name is Luis. I'm currently living in San Diego. My favorite place that I visited was Madrid in Spain. And if there's any place that I would like to go, it would be Italy. And I'll pass it on to Dalton.
And Dalton, you'll be our last one, and we'll go ahead and move on with the presentation. Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm Dalton. I'm from New Hampshire. For traveling wise, I've gotten to spend probably about a year over in Korea. That's where my wife lives, so that's pretty great. be able to go there. And then from there, we've made the plan to hop over to another country since it's pretty easy from over there. So probably Vietnam would be the place I want to travel to.
I love it. Thank you all so much for participating. We really appreciate it. It's really great to know all of you, and we look forward to learning a little bit more about you. But to continue on with our presentation, we want to talk a little bit more about Learn and a little bit about us. What's our story? Where did we come from? So we have been a company for 8 years now. We just had our 8-year anniversary. We were founded in 2015, and we have really humble beginnings. We were started as a family-ran company by Chelsea and Rob, who are our co-founders, and since they have same last names, husband and wife. But we started as an in-person class in North Park. We moved to a larger location in downtown San Diego and a little bit after that. But as with anything with the pandemic, we had to make a lot of different changes, and we went from an in-person program to a remote program. And that really brought us to where we are now. But as we've grown, we've stayed true to our mission. And our mission has always been to create pathways to help anyone and everyone enter and excel into the tech industry. And that's really why you all are here and why we're so excited to help all of you. Is we are so passionate about helping, people from such awesome backgrounds come into the tech industry and excel. And we really believe that as long as you have the curiosity, compassion, and the drive to learn, that we can help you become a developer and that we can help you make that transition into a tech career. And what's really great is we've helped a lot of people do it. We're actually just about to hit our 600 graduate. And last year alone, we had 154 new students and 139 graduates. We went from 5 cohorts in 2021 to 8 cohorts in 2022. And this year, we're increasing our cohort size to 11. And one of the big reasons we've been able to do that is because we've been able to grow our community on a national scale. Last year alone, we were in 27 different states across the United States. And that brought our Learn community across the United States all the way up to 33 states. So we're really across the entire country. And even just hearing a few of you all talk, we have people all across the country, and we're so honored and privileged to help all of you in your coding journey. So, yep, we hear you. I'm gonna mute you for right now until we're done with the presentation, but thank you. And just, one of our big passions at Learn is to really promote diversity in tech. We really are passionate about helping everyone enter the tech industry. And one of the ways we do that is by raising and awarding scholarship funds for people who need it the most. And last year alone, we raised and distributed over $60,000, and we've done that and more across many of our years. So really helping to grow the tech industry and help people is at the core of what we do. So thank you all. I really appreciate getting to share a little bit more. And I'm actually going to pass it off to Kumba now, who many of you might have already met, but she's our enrollment manager. She's going to talk a little bit more about how our admissions process works.
Thank you so much, TJ. Pretty much the way the structure of our program and how it works is our program is a 4-month live remote full stack web development program. And what that means is for the first 3 months, our students will meet and collaborate with their instructors and classmates in the virtual classroom, just like this. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We don't have any classes on the weekend, so you can take a little bit of a break there, right? And then for the 4th month, they're going to participate in a guaranteed internship, and that's also remote at a tech company or a startup where they get to really gain some crucial real-world experiences. They get to apply a lot of the skills they've learned in the classroom to the actual internship as well. Okay, and they'll get some mentorship too, as well as some great, oftentimes potential job offers or even references as well. During the program, we have career services, and during the program and after the program too as well, where that career will help you with a career search plan, as well as job placement too as well. One of the things I would say that really makes Learn stand out is ultimately our community of support. A lot of our folks are career transitioners, and oftentimes a lot of us have been through that same journey, and even the instructors too as well. So you're going to come into a community of folks that really understand this transition that you're making and how to support you throughout the program and even after the program too as well. As TJ said, we have almost 600 graduates, and if you are interested in being part of the 600 and 1, 2, 3, and on, We have obviously an admissions process, right? Our program has become extremely popular, so we want to make sure that the students who enter this program are a right fit for that. And part of that process includes filling out a thorough application, schedule an interview. You can think of the interview very similar to a job interview, right? But we want to think of it more as a conversation to get to know you a little bit better. We'll take some notes just to capture some of what you're saying. There's no right or wrong answer, but we want to get to really know you and why you want to take this journey with potentially Learn. And after that, the last step in the enrollment process is to complete our required weekend prep course called Jumpstart. Jumpstart allows our students to get all the fundamentals under their belt, allows them to meet some of their future classmates, some of their instructors too as well, and then to really see if this is the right fit for you, right? Because oftentimes people come into this experience thinking they want one thing, and then they get into Jumpstart and they realize it either confirms for them that yes, this is the right decision, or sometimes they can say, oh, this is not right for me. And that's totally okay, right? Because we want you to make sure that this is the right fit for you, because it's a huge commitment. And Jumpstart allows you to kind of check all those boxes off. So once all those things on the checklist of the admissions process is completed, our admissions committee will review your application, and then an admissions decision will be made. For our non-veteran students, you will submit a deposit of $500. That deposit does one of two things. It holds your spot. It says, Learn, hey, I'm serious about this program, hold my spot. But it also goes towards your tuition too as well. And that guarantees you a spot in the upcoming cohort. Okay. One of the communities that Learn is really honored to support is our veteran community. Through the VA, we are approved vet tech provider. The vet tech program is the Veteran Employment Through Technology Education course, and which allows the student to be able to take our program, and the VA will pay for the program too as well. We're also in the process of looking at other veterans programs that we can go ahead and expand our program to other veterans that qualify through the many different programs that are through the VA. So we're constantly looking to expand that to other vets as well. Specifically for the vet tech program, in which we are currently a provider of, for folks that meet that qualification, they have to be either off of active duty or within 180 days of separating from the military. You will qualify through the VA Education Assistance under the GI Bill. They do not utilize your GI Bill, but they use it to determine your eligibility, right? Once you are accepted into a program like ours, which is a vet tech approved provider, you will then apply for the vet tech COE, which is a certificate of eligibility. That process can take up to 30 days. Once that COE arrives, you will then can apply to a program like ours, which is an approved vet tech program. And then you'll be required to attend a monthly vet tech information session. We have those every month. And the reason why that is because, as y'all know, for the folks that are vets, the VA has a whole lot of logistics and a whole lot of red tape, and want to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into, the process of that. So we have those information sessions every single month. So you can sign up for one, and that would be the additional step that our veterans would have to complete in addition to the enrollment process that I went over previously. Upcoming cohorts. As I said, our program has grown dramatically. On average, we have about 20 students in a cohort, right? So if you don't get into one cohort, there's lots of opportunities to get into one of these 11 cohorts that are happening. Our next cohort, the next two cohorts that we're accepting admissions applications for right now is our Bravo cohort and our Charlie cohort. So every month we'll add new cohorts, open up new cohorts to the roster. So these are the dates. We're here for the next 11 months in our program. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Vanessa.
Hey everyone, I will go over the onboarding section of the process you'll go through with Learn. I'll just touch on these briefly. Number one, the first thing we do is gather some information from our students. This is important information we have to store for each student. That includes emergency contact info and shipping address, things like that. Number two on the list will get you set up in our community Slack channel. This is a tool that we use to communicate within the cohort during the duration of the course, but it's also where all of our community comes together to share information. So once you get added to that space, you're welcome to network. Number 3 on that list is tuition. We'll go over tuition options together and get your payment set up prior to the start of class. Number 4 are tutorials that I'll send over to you. Something to note here is that it's a good idea to work through those tutorials prior to your meeting with the Director of Academic Experience, Sarah, who you'll meet in a little bit. That way you can work through any technical questions that you have during that meeting, which leads me to number 5, that Zoom meeting with the Director of Academic Experience is really important. We set specific times aside in Sarah's schedule, so please be respectful of that time and give 24-hour notice if any changes need to happen prior to that meeting. As we get closer to the start of the cohort, we'll get official documents signed through PandaDoc, and we'll also get a laptop out to you. If you are local within an hour of San Diego, then you'll meet with me in person to pick up your laptop. But if you're outside of that range, then we'll ship out a laptop to you. There's a few things to keep in mind. The email address that you use during your application process is the one that we'll use to communicate with you. It's the form of communication that we use the most during the onboarding process. So please make sure that you are able to access that email address consistently. We will over communicate with you about the onboarding process. You should be getting weekly emails from me regarding onboarding. But if you haven't heard back or from us after you've made your deposit, please make sure to check your junk and spam inboxes, your text messages and voicemail. Like I said, we'll over communicate. So I'll always be reaching out if something is missing. And then finally, we reserve the right to rescind admission offers due to unresponsiveness during the onboarding process. So please don't let that happen. Communication is key in the onboarding process, but also in the classroom setting. It's something that you need to get into the habit of doing, is communicating any issues that arise quickly so that you can work with others to get to resolution. And with that, I'll pass it over to Sarah.
Hi, everybody. My name's Sarah. I'm the Director of Academic Experience at Learn. And back in the beginning of 2018, I was exactly where you are today, deciding if I was wanting to make a career change. I come from a non-technical background and I went to Learn as a student. And I discovered that I really, really liked the art of coding, but that I absolutely fell in love with Learn. I love the community. I love the very humanist approach to education and the mission of making tech more available and inclusive. And I realized that that was really like the thing that I was looking for in my life. So I'm very biased, but I think what we're doing here is pretty amazing. So I started my journey with Learn volunteering to help future students, and then grew with the company over the last 4 years. And I'm now on my 24th cohort, and I've worked with around 300 students. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Learn classroom. So kind of starting off with just some of the logistics. Learn is a 16-week program, and the first 12 weeks are in the classroom. We are a live remote classroom, so that means that our classroom looks a lot like this in the Zoom meeting. It's all of us together. We're sharing this virtual space at the same time. So our program is Monday through Friday. It's a 9 to 5, and we work in the Pacific time zone. And this is the only program we offer. It's a full-time and it's a very immersive experience. And every cohort has a lead instructor and an associate instructor. And then I pop in a few times a week and do instruction and work with students and things like that. So you've got a team of people helping you out. And the expectation of the classroom is that your camera is on, so that we are looking at each other's faces, which allows us to communicate both verbally through using Zoom and then non-verbally by being able to read each other's facial expressions. This is not a class that you can do part-time or that you can do while you're doing something else. We're taking a huge amount of content and shrinking it down into a very short period of time. So to be successful, you're really going to have to make some sacrifices to prioritize your learning. Cool. So at Learn, we are a very collaborative or very caring environment. These are our top-down core values at Learn. So as students, you can expect us to create and hold space in the classroom where everybody is moving forward on their learning journey. The instructors, the students, the Learn staff, the community members, all of us as a group of humans are working together, we're supporting each other, we're challenging each other, and that everyone is pushing forward at learning a little bit more every day. And so you can expect the instruction team and the entire Learn staff is going to work super, super hard for you, because programming is really hard. But it's also very doable. And so I want to do my part to make sure that the barrier of entrance is as low as possible, because technology needs all of you. It needs input from all of the people who use it, which in 2023 is everybody. And there was a point in the really not too recent past, I mean, within most of our lifetimes, definitely within mine, where technology was made and used by a really small group of people. And the people that were making the original technology that we think of today, computers and computer programming, was predominantly, younger white men. And now we can look back and thank them for their contributions. We wouldn't have made it to this place without those amazingly smart people starting off that path, but technology can't be exclusionary like that anymore. And as a society, we need to open this field to everybody because it's way too important not to. Code is in our everyday lives. It's in our cars. It's in medical devices. It's in credit cards. It's in all of our entertainment. And of course, all our phones and our apps that keeps us functioning in the world. If you're going to apply to a job or open a bank account or rent an apartment or, buy household goods or travel, you basically have to have technology at this point. There isn't another way to get around those things. And so at that point, technology is not a luxury item. It's critical to the function of our daily lives. And if it is critical for everybody to use technology in order to function in the world, we need to make sure that technology is inclusive so that everybody can use it. And the only real way to do that is to make sure that the group of people who are creating that technology is diverse. And so at Learn, our goal is to do our little part to make the world of technology more inclusive and more available. So I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be a software developer. And that term is still very broad. I mean, truly the industry is still very, very young. But at Learn, we focus specifically on web development, meaning that it's the content that can be created and accessed in an internet browser. So we're creating web applications. And I want to make a distinction between the idea of a web application and a web page. And basically the distinction to me is kind of the interaction of the user. And can the user log into this web experience? Can they store data? And so if I'm looking at, like, for example, like a restaurant page, I can go look at the menu, I can see their hours, I can see a way to contact them. To me, that's a web page, right? My interaction is that I'm seeing and absorbing content. But if I go to a website like Zoom, I can go create an account. I can schedule meetings, and my information is stored by Zoom, and I can see that information the next time I go back to that web page. And so I think of that as a web application because my interaction is that I'm contributing data to this place. And so that's kind of what we do at Learn, is that we're focusing on the idea of creating web applications, things users can interact with, but that will store and hold your data. And mobile applications are basically the same concept. It's just a slightly different tools used, but the fundamentals are very much the same. So learning to build static web pages is great. I mean, it's super, super useful. But when we talk about really being a web developer, the thing that we're focused on here at Learn of becoming a software developer, becoming a web developer, really what we're talking about is building a web application. So it's that idea of data storage, which leads me to just briefly wanting to touch on kind of the programming languages themselves. Programming languages are a lot like any other human spoken language. Developers use languages that have been created by other people to create new things. So just like we can use the English language with established words and grammar and express our own ideas by creating new and unique combinations, that's basically what we do with web development. We take established languages created by other people, combine them in new and interesting ways to express our ideas. And so in a very oversimplified manner, our computer languages, compile down and communicate with our computer. And these languages, again, very broadly speaking, kind of divide into two categories. So we have the front end and the back end. Front end is where you as a user are interacting with the content on the internet. It's the stuff you see when you look at a web page. It's things you click on. It's forms that you fill out. The back end is going back to that idea of a web application. It's that ability to store data. So the back end is where my data goes. It's the structure and the ability for me as a user to see my information the next time I log in, and how that information is stored and how it is retrieved is the back end. So again, broadly speaking, when we're talking about web development, specifically what we do at Learn is creating web applications. So it's access through the browser on the internet, and this ability for a user to not only see a web page, but be able to log in, store information, and then retrieve that information. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, I guess, quote unquote, a typical day at Learn. Of course, there's truly no typical day because every day is going to be slightly different depending on the topics we cover, guest speakers, things like that. But we can kind of work with this as about what you can expect for a day at Learn. We open the Zoom room at 8:45. We start class promptly at 9. We do a check-in very similar to what you saw us do at the beginning of the meeting today. We do it where we popcorn around the entire room, or have a list that we go around the entire room and answer some kind of fun check-in question. It's usually kind of an icebreaker question just to kind of get your brain fired up. We do a live coding or demonstration. One of the instructors will lecture, share their screen, walk through a coding concept, talk about vocabulary terms, talk about process. And then you will work with another member of your cohort to get some hands-on coding experience. So whatever that topic that we covered in lecture, you will then go do the application and work through the coding challenge. Lunch is at noon Pacific, and then we kind of do a rinse and repeat for the afternoon. And we really like this hands-on experience because that's really where the learning happens. Because if you don't know it yet, coding is really hard. And nobody came into the world knowing how to talk to computers. And so you have to get this hands-on experience. You have to struggle with it. And you're going to be bad. I'm bad at coding all the time. You're not going to be good at something until you're bad at it first. And so this process of really digging in and working with people in your cohort, practicing and getting the experience of actually typing, having to read the error messages, having to troubleshoot your code is exactly what you can expect from your day-to-day in your job. All right, and then lastly, just talk a little bit about some requirements. One of the things that I love about coding is that coding all boils down to communication. And to be a really effective developer, you have to be able to communicate ideas to other people, hence our practice of pair programming, of having to talk through and get your hands dirty with the code. But it's also communication in that you're writing in a medium that communicates to your computer, which is pretty cool. But the way that we can practice this skill is through pair programming, of both communicating to your computer and other people and figuring out how do you do that simultaneously. And so with this, the idea of pair programming, of exchanging code and working with another person, we want to make sure that all of the apps and technologies that you're working in are compatible so that we have the ability to share code within our team. So to do that, we provide you with a computer for your time at Learn. It's a MacBook Air. We do expect that you use our computer. Just like if you were at a job and your job gave you a computer, you would use it. Because we're the ones that set it up, it's much easier for us to fix if something goes wrong, particularly in this virtual environment. And then that way, again, we're lessening the time that we're spending troubleshooting over small version issues. So expectation is that you use our MacBook. If you're not a Mac person, we've got some, there's really great tutorials out there for you to kind of work through and understand understand a little bit more about the Mac operating system. It's most of the things that you would want to be familiar with are things like keyboard shortcuts, how the windows and menus work that are just a little bit unique to the Mac operating system. The rest of the requirements here are a list of things that we want you to be able to complete to make you eligible for internship. Most of them are based around this idea of working on a team, of collaborating, of practicing your communication skills, of being a really effective team member so that we feel confident that you can go join a team on internship and be really successful. We need you to show up. You're not going to be successful if you're not in class participating. And to ensure that, we've got a series of weekly assessments. They are based not around grades, but around skill acquisition. So we're looking for you to gain skills with your time at Learn. I think that's it. I'm going to pass it on to Chantel.
Thanks, Sarah. So one of the things that makes Learn Academy unique in the coding bootcamp space, because we know that there are a lot of coding bootcamps out there, but one thing that we do is that all of our students are eligible to go to an internship as part of this 16-week program. So the first 12 weeks you're in the classroom, and the last 4 weeks of your time with us, you are placed with a host company who is working with you as an intern. You are there to get on the job training. You're there to get project experience. While you're in your internship, you're going to be able to get mentored and get feedback on your performance. You're going to be able to network with the people who are at this company, learn things beyond what we teach you in class. 12 weeks is a very short amount of time. And what we're able to cover in class is a lot of information in that short amount of time. So these extra 4 weeks are another way to add even more to that in different areas and teach you new stuff that may be interesting to you as you continue out to expand this into your career. Also, it gives all of our students the opportunity to add things, add projects to their portfolio, add experience to your resume, making you that much more marketable as a candidate, as a junior developer, when you actually start looking for a job. So this is something that can be really impactful when you are entering in to the technical industry, actually having experience and people who can vouch for your experience as references as well while you're looking for that first job. We are really proud of our internship program. Like TJ said, we've been around for 8 years, and in those 8 years, we have worked with 144 different companies for internship partnerships. On average, 25% of our students are hired out of their internship placement. So that is something that we're also really proud of, is that our company partners come to us and know the quality of students that are coming out of our program and use the internship program as a way of finding talent to hire after the internship. It's a way for them to get people on their team, see if they fit on their team well. Are they quick to pick things up, ask good questions, a culture fit, and making offers to them. So that is not an expectation we have of our company partners, but it is something that many partners continue to come to us when they are looking to add to their teams and use the internship program as a way of doing that. I'm not quite done there. Beyond that job opportunity, many of our internship partners, it is only 4 weeks that we require them to be a partner, but many of them offer extensions to our students as well. So our students are able to get even more time and more experience with those companies to add to those skills. Our students go and learn, like Sarah was talking about, some of the front and back end languages that we teach in our boot camp. Our interns have the opportunity to learn. This is a very, very short list of some of the things that our students learn during their internship. And a big part of what we're doing in your class time is not just teaching you these languages and how to code, we're also teaching you how to learn to code. So when you're first approached with a new language or framework in your internship, you have the ability and the confidence to know how to look at this, figure things out, ask questions, Google questions, find the right answers, and come up with solutions. So it's a really awesome thing to see all the extra skill acquisition that happens during that 4 weeks of internship. Now I'm ready. This 1 month long process doesn't start just at the end those 4 weeks. About a month before you're actually placed on your internship, you'll get to hear presentations from the partners who have signed on for your cohort. So typically that's between 7 and 10 partners per cohort. They come, they give a little presentation about who they are, what their company does, the types of projects that they're going to have interns work on. And you get to ask questions. What's the company like? Is there opportunity maybe to extend or get hired? What advice do they have for you as a junior developer entering the space? After these presentations, you'll get to interview with some of those companies. Every student typically gets about 4 interviews with some of the companies who are partnered. So that one gets you the opportunity to ask even more questions of some of these partners, and also for you to get practice doing technical interviews in preparation for once you graduate. After those interviews, our students rank the companies and based on their preference of where they would like to go. We take that preference into account. We also take the preference rankings of our partners into account, but ultimately we as a Learn staff control the matching and the assignment of students to internships. We take into account how well you've picked up skills in class, where your preferences for front end or back end work are. Are there people in the class that you work really well with who you would just go and thrive as a team in the internship? Those are all things that we take into consideration, and we make those matches and assign the students to the different internships. The final week that you are in class is kind of an internship preparation week where you have been introduced to your mentor at the company you'll be interning at, and they may have some work for you to orient yourself to some of the new things you'll be learning and working on during your internship. You may rewrite one of your projects from class in a different language. There's a lot of things that we can do to help prepare you so that way on your internship day 1, you can hit the ground running. Like I said, we have worked with 144 companies for internship. These are just a couple of the companies that we've worked with. Many of them are headquartered in the San Diego area because of our history and being an in-person boot camp in San Diego, but we are expanding our company partners out across the country. While you are in your internship, you are expected to be in communication with your mentor about what hours are expected. It is still a full-time internship, 40 hours per week, just like in the classroom. Depending on the company, most of our partners do the same time as we do in the classroom, where it's 9 to 5 Pacific time, but that may vary depending on the company. Like I said, during that internship, you are out of the classroom, but we are not just throwing you out to figure it out on your own. You are still very much a Learn student and part of the Learn community, and you have access to us. So there are bi-weekly check-ins for the whole cohort to come together in Zoom again and talk about what are you learning, what projects are you working on, is there anything you're stuck on, and how we can help each other move through those blockers. You're going to have access, like I said, to the mentors at your host company. All of our partners are vetted for good mentorship, and we make sure that our students are in a place where they can ask questions and be supported in this educational internship. You are going to be able to get experience in a full production code base, something that is much larger than what we are able to provide you in a classroom. And so actually getting to see things that are in production, working on projects, working on tickets, pushing code to the website and seeing your projects live are opportunities that exist for our students. As well as getting feedback on your performance and your code. We want our mentors to do code reviews with you when they're looking at the projects you're working on, helping you think of new ways to solve problems, helping you think of new tools that you can implement to improve processes, and giving you that experience like you're a junior dev on a team. All of that comes to a close at the end of 4 weeks, unless you have an extension. Some of our partners do plan on doing longer internships than those 4 weeks, which you would be aware of as a student before going to that internship. But once you are finished with that, you are passed over to Paul, who's our Career Services Associate, and I will pass it over to him now.
Thank you, Chantal. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the career services we offer here at Learn Academy. So here's just a little overview of what we do. The curriculum, the career services curriculum runs parallel with the technical skills that you're going to be learning in the classroom. It's not enough just to be good at coding. You have to be good at being able to market yourself as a entry-level web developer. And so we will give you the tools in order to be able to do that. It's as important as learning how to code. So part of what we do is we'll help you become an expert networker, gain connections in this field. Oh, I think I might have just glitched out a bit. We also teach you the tools how to secure your first position in technology. A big part of what I do is the professional development week, where you take time out entirely from coding and spend time in that career readiness curriculum. We'll touch on resumes and so forth. I'll talk a little bit more detail about that in a moment. But if you take this part seriously and engage with it, have these tools in place, you massively increase the speed in which you will get your first position. We offer support after you have graduated. I'll talk a little bit about what that entails in a moment, but also it's all about kind of setting up meetings, making sure you're engaged by asking for advice from our Learn community, and together we'll help you through that process. Go through to the next slide, please. Excellent. So here's the direct input of the career services within the classroom. What I do, first of all, is organize what we call the alumni panel, where we invite previous graduates from the program into the classroom, and it's an opportunity for you to ask questions of them, where they came from originally, before Learn, their experience during class, and then what they have gone on to do and make a success of it with their first position in tech. I also organize guest speakers from our extended Learn community, and they come in to talk about their expertise on all sorts of different subjects. So design principles, accessibility on the web, freelancing, artificial intelligence, startups, project management, and Amazon Web Services, amongst others. And I will introduce the portfolios. It's a very important tool for your job search. So I present about the sorts of things that you should be including within your portfolio to showcase your skills. I touched on the idea of the professional development week. So it's a Monday through Friday, and I will guide you through picking out those transferable skills from previous work experience and how they can be relevant to the new direction you're taking, and how best to tell your unique story and proposition. In day 2, we talk about the tools for the job search, resumes, cover letters, and just how best to communicate your skills to potential employers. In fact, today I have done exactly this with one of the current cohorts. Day 3, we go on to technical interviews. We'll help you prep for those, as well as invite some of the extended Learn community in to help with mock interviews. So you'll have more of an idea of what to expect when it comes to the interview process. On day 4, we'll talk about building a network and how we can use LinkedIn to extend your network, and also how best to utilize online events and in-person tech events to gain new connections. And then finally, on day 5, you'll be ready for the job search. We'll tie up any loose ends, but also we have people coming in to talk about tech recruiters and hiring managers, and opportunity to ask them questions about the process and what they are looking for in terms of entry-level web developers. So that's what we do during Professional Development Week. After graduation, we set up meetings so that, and just essentially keeping me busy so that I am kept in the loop and making sure that you're engaged with the process after week 16. Together, we'll build an individual job search plan. We see it that there are 4 main factors to that: continuing to build that network, building up your portfolio, being ready for tech interviews. And so it's just all of these things are very, very important to be ready for when those interviews come. I also put together a weekly newsletter via email, where I highlight new opportunities, networking events. There are some VA specific resources as well that I like to highlight in there, and just ways to keep sharp and be ready when those interviews come. Just wanted to highlight some of the positions that as a Learn graduate, you can start to apply to. And many of our graduates do apply to developer roles. So job titles such as web developer, front and back end developer, full stack web developer, mobile developer as well, applications and software developers and engineers. All of these different titles you would be able to apply to, but it doesn't necessarily stop there. We have people who have gone on to take on design roles. So things like web designer, a UI UX designer, which is the user interface and user experience of websites, how the flow of the website works. People does that. Lots of science goes into that, and people from our course have gone on to do good work in UI and UX. We have design technologists, graphic designers, and content strategists. There's also tech support roles. Oh, sorry, not quite there yet. Can I? Oh, you got it. Technical support engineers, quality assurance engineers as well. And then some more tech adjacent roles, things like scrum masters, project and product managers, client and customer success specialists as well. So all of these are roles that potentially you can start to apply to once you have graduated from Learn Academy. And just to sort of evidence all of that, here are some of our graduates from the program who have gone on to do great things in various different areas. I just want to focus on a couple of people here. So we've got Michael G, who interned at one of the companies, Cetus Media, who continue to be partners with us. He was taken on full time there after his internship. He then moved away to a new company for a little while, but was then invited back and is now their manager of engineering at that company that he first of all where he interned originally, which is an amazing story. LJ, she interned at a company called Synced Up and was immediately taken on after that as a software engineer. And now she's just recently moved roles in the same company, but this time as a project manager. Francisco, he extended his internship from Right Metrics. He networked extraordinarily hard and was then offered a position of a software engineer at Clearviction. This is a company that really aligns with his values as well. So he was extraordinarily pleased to get something that felt like it doing good for the community. And then finally, Kendra, she interned at a medical medtech company called Pfizer. Again, studied really hard to be ready for interviews and aced an interview at Tandem Diabetes Care. And she's currently a usability tester in a field that's extraordinarily important to her. So just a few examples of how the Learn grads are doing great things within the community. And with that, I'll pass it over to TJ.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, all of the Learn team. Really appreciate you all diving into all of the great things about our program. But now I'd love to open the floor to anybody in the audience. This is a great time. If we didn't cover anything that you still have a few questions about, please go ahead and throw it in the chat. We can answer it that way. We can also, if you have a question, please go ahead and unmute yourself. We can also do it that way. So we'll, the floor is yours. Anybody? Well, while you're thinking about that, just real quick, like I said, we are recording this presentation, so we're gonna send out this and some more follow-up information to everyone. We all also have, if you have not started your application, or that is kind of the next step here, but if you are in the enrollment process, please, like Kuma mentioned, your interview is probably one of your most important steps. We have a lot of interest in our program, and so keeping your interview and showing up for your interview is a really big part of making sure you keep your place in the enrollment process. But as we mentioned, there are tons of opportunities across this year. We have 11 different cohorts. So all of you, we'd love to see you in one of them. And any last minute questions? No? Okay. Yeah, please go right ahead.
Okay, I signed up for the Jumpstart, which is the 27, 28, and 29. And they're gonna, we're gonna be practicing some of the languages, or it's just like a introductory, or what we expect on the Jumpstart?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jumpstart is designed, well, it's got a couple of goals. One is it's designed as a, excuse me. It's designed as a prep course for the regular program. So we're going to be covering some of the foundations of web development, but it's also definitely modeled after our regular program to give you a taste of what you can expect. Because before you commit to the regular program, we want to make sure that you like this whole thing and that you like learning in the way that we like teaching. And so going to Jumpstart is basically a day in the life of being a Learn student.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Did that answer your question enough?
Yeah, just wanted to know like what we expect and what exactly that we need in our computer. I know on the full course you guys send a Mac, and on this one, do we need to install any program in particular, or is there?
Yeah, we'll send out an email that will tell you exactly and give you links and everything. But basically, you're going to need a web browser. We recommend Google Chrome because they have good developer tools. And then you're going to need a text editor, which is the software you use to write code. If you have a text editor you like, great. If you don't know what that is quite all right. And we'll give you a link to download one in the emails for Jumpstart. And then you need the ability to interact on Zoom. So a strong internet connection, a camera, the ability to share your screen from your computer.
Okay. Thanks.
And just to jump in real quick, Miguel, you should have an email in your inbox. I would check your spam and junk inboxes if you haven't gotten that from me. But I did send out an email yesterday for all of the Jumpstart things you'll need. So all of that is available in the email that I sent over. If you search for my name, Vanessa, at learnacademy.org, it should pop up.
Okay, I'll go ahead and check it. Thank you, Vanessa.
And then I had a question. So the next cohort would be, to be able to apply to, would be open for the 13th of March, right? Or something, somewhere around there. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So applications are closed for our February cohort starting next month. The applications are still open for our March and April cohorts. And then we'll probably start opening up applications for our following cohorts coming up in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just want to thank everybody for putting this on. Obviously, you guys are busy, so taking the time, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Felix. We appreciate you joining us, and it was a pleasure to meet you and all of you here and answer all your questions and learn a little bit more about our program. I saw Apollino.
You were on it. I was going to call that out.
Yeah. So you can go ahead, Chantel. Would you like to chime in?
No, I was just going to say, Apollonia said, how much time outside of class should we expend on content to be successful? Sarah, what do you have to say about that one?
That's a great question. The bad answer is that it really depends, but the honest one is that it's really going to it's going to be a reflection of your learning style and where you're at in your software development journey. So I have some people that come in who have, worked in like adjacent fields or have maybe done some like computer science programming in college. And so they have a little bit more familiarity and they're just able to kind of pick things up a little bit quicker. Some people, like me included, came in with no experience, very, very green. And so I really did have to like put in a lot of work to understand. I also feel like I need a lot of repetition in order to learn effectively. And so I was doing a lot of that repetition on my own time. So I think coming into this class, recognizing that there's going to be some sacrifice, you're absolutely going to need to spend time outside of class, but there isn't going to be a lot of like homework. It's not like, oh, take this home and do it and then bring it back the next day. It's more like, we covered a whole bunch of content. If it's going to stick in your brain on your learning style, what is it that you need to do in order to make that stick, and that's going to be what you do outside of class. So very depending on your learning style, I really encourage you to come into the class with kind of an open slate of maybe you learned really effectively one way in college or high school, or the last time you were in a traditional learning setting. It's likely going to be different in how you're going to learn in this environment, where it's very much based off of troubleshooting and problem solving and kind of being open to like rethinking about how you learn. And part of that doing the work is kind of discovering that. So it's a very unique and specialized thing to each individual person. And I think that's part of the importance of the journey, is figuring out what that is for you.
Can I just also mention as well that the career readiness side of things as well, kind of reaching out, doing something each day to increase a network, all of those things that we'll work on is also something else that you should consider doing maybe outside of class as well.
As far as like what you should know prior to applying, I think anything you can do to just explore web development in general. There's so many wonderful free resources online, free tutorials or YouTube videos, things like that, just to kind of expose you to coding. Because again, the goal with like Jumpstart and going through onboarding and going through pre-work, it's all just to make sure that you like it. Like the thing that's worse for us is that you get 2 weeks into the class and you're like, oh, I hate this. This isn't for me at all. Like that's just a bummer for everybody, because you committed to a thing and spent your time and money and all of that. Like we want to make sure that you're excited about this before you're committing to the program. So it isn't necessarily like there's no test to make sure that you're like qualified for Learn. Like again, I want to lower the barrier to entry, because I want people who are coming in very green to code, because that provides a unique perspective. And I think that's a really important aspect of what we're doing at Learn, is that we're creating that inclusive environment. However, exposing yourself to those materials is going to make sure that you like it, and the more that you're exposed to it, the more you're getting those reps in, the faster things are going to stick. So I would just say be curious and explore. I think that's one of the best qualities you can have coming into Learn.
I want to add a little bit to that too, Sarah, is that there is not correlation between how much someone knows coming into the program and being successful in the program, and also getting a job fastest. So it's not necessarily the people who have like done a ton of practice projects or like started learning on their own coming in who immediately get everything. There's plenty of times where students are learning something new and it's hard. And there's not the only person you can compare yourself to in this cohort, going through this bootcamp, is yourself. And that today you know more than you did yesterday. And that is what you have to keep building on. And people who come in and really embrace that and embrace the hard work of learning are the people who are successful. And that's, I think, where Sarah was talking about, like, it's going to depend for everybody what that hard work looks like, how much extra time each individual person needs to put in. But the people who we see go through our program and get the jobs the fastest are the people who really work, who really embrace that hard work and put that effort forward. There's plenty of people who come through the program and join class, and they do what they need to, but they're not pushing themselves. And we can tell in a cohort the people who are really like in it and dedicated and are going to continue the work once they leave our 16-week program. And they're the people that we see typically get employed the fastest, because that then translates over to the job hunt.
Wonderful. Thank you all for those answers. Just to quickly answer Rupa's question here. We only have one option right now. So since we are a West Coast company, All of our class times are Pacific Standard Time, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we do understand living on the East Coast, excuse me, that does present some challenges for some people with the time change, but unfortunately, that's just the one set time that we have for our program. Yeah, and so that would be 12 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
I've had classes where I had people on the East Coast, and then I've also at the same time of having people in Hawaii. And so there was like a 6-hour time difference when we started our day, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that is awesome. People watching the sunrise and people in the night.
Like having lunch. Yeah.
Cool. Well, any other last minute questions before we wrap up our presentation this evening? Well, again, while you think on that, we're going to send out the presentation. We're going to send out some follow-up information. Please apply if you haven't already. We'll give you some links. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.